Let's go to Candy Fist Toe, and the subject is Thunder working. On Busted Open Radio recently, Thunder Rosa was asked about the future of the women's division in AEW, and frankly, she didn't have much good to say. She even said something like, "Most people don't even know that I'm back, but I'm back." She then changed the topic and frankly started to mark out about the women in NXT and started talking about how much she loved the Rock and Jinder Mahal segment from Raw. My question is, how much of this do you think is real and how much is a work? It's now 2024, and the one thing that Tony Khan is known for more than anything else is that he's a sensitive little mark. He will get offended by her by her not praising his AEW booking, which makes me think that it might be some type of work. Could it be, or could she maybe be hoping for a release so that she can join WWE? No, I just think a lot of people there are frustrated with their creative, and people that aren't afraid to speak their mind, like Thunder Rosa, are speaking their mind and don't care what happens. This would be my take. Would you agree with that, Conan?
Yeah, I think when you get so frustrated that you don't care of going on social media, even though it's going to get you heat, you're frustrated. And let me tell you something. What's this guy's name?
Candy
Fist.
Candy Fist Toad.
Okay. Well, if this is a work, why are you doing it on Busted Open and not on TV? Right. Or in conjunction with? This is not a work. She's outspoken, which is in this business is not seen in a good light by many. She left with heat. She might still have some. Yeah, her return was super underwhelming. And maybe their way of telling her, hey, chill out. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe somebody from WWE talked to her and said, hey, when's your contract up? Oh, in a year, whatever it is. And well, if you can get out before, who knows? You know what I'm saying? But this is not a work to me.
Next, some Ganda Chanko. Subject to this: are there any draws in AEW? Happy New Year, K100. I've heard Tony Khan say it and others speak on some of the draws in AEW. Having seen the numbers week after week, I don't think AEW has any draws besides MJF. The show starts at its highest viewership and declines steadily for the remainder of the show. The only time it grows is if MJF has a segment, but even that's only about 30,000 people. NXT numerically has more draws than AEW. Bron Breakker moves numbers, Trick Williams moves numbers, and Nikita Lyons moves numbers. To me, a draw is someone who makes a tangible difference in the numbers relative to the viewing figures. Roman grows the audience consistently by 200 to 350,000 people for his quarters. Randy Orton by 100 to 300. Becky and Rhea the same. I don't think someone is a draw just because they stopped viewers from ditching the show. How do you think AEW can alter wrestlers' presentation and make them attraction for viewers? I attached a quarter-hour breakdown to support my statement. He attached a quarter-hour breakdown of like almost every single show you could fit this graphic in there. The way the show is
except segment 1 did over 1 million last week.
Yeah, but that's not the segment doing over 1 million.
It's just
that's the lead-in, and that's the number that they're recording at 9:00.
Mm-hmm.
So the first segment is actually right about in between that number and the first number. So which would be about like, about 880,000 people, and they end up with 713,000 people, which is a drop off of almost. They lose like almost short. They do what happens with the third hour Raw every week.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
The third hour Raw just drops out significantly. People get bored and they don't put compelling main events on, and it's more like the overrun was like only 713,000 people. It was Garcia versus Strickland. The post match with Adam Page.
It went up 23,000. Di, don't sell it too short.
Well, that's just the number recorded at 9:00 when maybe people are turning.
Flipping to see if it's still on. Right. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
All right. Yeah, but so I don't know. It's just.
If you guys,
what are you arguing, Joe? That it got 23,000? That's a big deal.
No. I was just kidding.
It did go up very slightly. It didn't continue to drop.
Right.
Right.
But I would ask you guys, both having Conan still books, Disco having experience. Raw used to do something like that where they would put their hottest match or angle on at 9, and then 10 to 11 kind of was no longer the main event. So if you were AEW, would you start with the biggest segment and go down, since that seems to be the numbers trend anyway, or would you book it like an old show where the main event's at 9:30 and that's that?
I mean, they book for an audience that they think won't ever change the channel because the shows are great. You hear Tony.
The matches are great. The matches are great.
Well, yeah. Tony, you hear Tony talk about the show We had a great show this week. We're at a really great, one of our best.
Well, what's he supposed to say, Disco?
But I'm just saying, that's the mindset, thinking that like these people, like the number, who's going to change a channel?
Yeah,
He
but
doesn't realize it,
he's
right? Yeah.
he's in a bubble inside of a bubble, bro. He's the owner, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, that's like telling somebody, "Hey, your baby's ugly." It's like,
Right.
really?
Right.
So
Like,
I mean, so that's his baby. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday,
He's proud of that.
The tweets and stuff yesterday with Tony coming out, and a lot of people were critical and then criticizing gender. It made me think, because in the late 90s, there was guys, even Eric, who made fun of Tony. Eric was reactionary, and he would, TV and stuff. And Heyman was even worse. So if the late 90s had Twitter, you think Eric and Paul Heyman would be on Twitter kind of speaking like Tony does, taking shots at the other company and stuff like that, or no?
Bro, first of all, Eric was a TV character, okay? His like Vince McMahon was an incredible TV character.
Mhm.
Like, he was an owner too, but he was a very good TV performer, which is why he got over, and like he could play that role. Eric was the same way. If you go back and look at Eric Bischoff's mic work and stuff from that era, he was excellent.
Sure.
Right? And so he was good. So what would your owner character do? You know what I'm saying? But Tony's not playing a character. He's literally
plus there was
head-to-head
social media. No, there was social media back then, and they weren't on it. I've never seen Jeff Jarrett on there throwing shade at anybody. Never seen Scott D'Amore going on there throwing shade at everybody. I think the problem with Tony is he comes up as childish, number one.
Right.
And
he comes across like the things he talks about that he complains about. Like, he talks about a lot of like no booker, owner, anybody that's been in the business would talk about like the irrelevant things that Tony brings up. Like cage match ratings, Hook's record compared to Jinder's record, like that's complete, like that stuff doesn't matter. What matters is your television ratings. If you're trying to get a new TV deal, and you're talking about cage match and so, but those are TV executives don't give a
now imagine this. Imagine this, bro. USA Network made fun of that.
Right. It's because they because of course it's a joke to them. And here's Tony doubling down on stuff that literally TV executives are looking at. Bro, this has got to be a joke. You're talking about cage match ratings, and you want more rights fees because your cage match ratings are good. They're literally like mocking him, and he's still feeding into it because I don't think he really understands how to run a business here, a professional wrestling business. You know what I'm saying? You got to.
Yeah, you can't. The problem is, I remember one, and I read this once. Meltzer had wrote this once. That what's this guy's name? He's a Texas promoter, Paul Bosch.
Paul Bosch, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Paul Bosch. That he one day had made up. He said, "I'm going to let the fans make up a card, right?" Mm-hmm. And the card didn't draw. Right. And his whole thing is, why should I be listening to the fans? They tried to do that in AAA. I go, do not listen to fans because they don't look at business. Right. They look at this as marks. Right.
Yeah. 100%. Like, you know what's relevant. What's relevant is the amount of is a guy's pop getting bigger or smaller? Is he moving merchandise, and is he moving numbers on TV? That's it. I don't care about his cage.
Like even the Jinder Mahal thing, when he put that he hasn't won in a year, bro. Nobody was thinking that. People are like, okay, this guy came back with The Rock. He's got heat, and before. Right. So they're not looking at that because everybody knows this is not real. This is not a real sport. This is show business.
He came back. You can't
convince it. Yeah.
He came back. He came across as a very strong character and strong on the mic. It was a segment with The Rock. That's the perception of Jinder is like, wow, this guy's kind of, he came back.
He's elevated. A star. He's in there with a superstar.
Yeah, he's elevated. So now it's like
definitely elevated.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and let me just say real quick, like after the 2 weeks he had, first holding his own with The Rock, and now this joke at Tony's expense, he is going to be over as a. From here on out, because the Tony Khan haters that saw Jinder do that, now he's their guy. He's going to get huge pops.
Well, the funniest thing WWE did is they have that show on their network called The Bump. So who did they put on The Bump today? Jinder. Go Keith Tater.
Yeah.
Man,
No, my favorite was in Ginger, but who the is who was it?
Hook.
Look, yeah. Here's the ultimately, and if you're outside this wrestling bubble and you caught wind of this discussion, and like you haven't watched wrestling in a while, but like you see what was going on, and you follow Eric, but you don't really read. You follow Tony and you see what's going on, right? The funniest thing about this is that if you were outside the bubble and haven't been watching wrestling while, just been a casual observer from afar, and if you're looking at Tony, like the narrative that he's complaining about is Hook is 28-1 and he's challenging for the world title, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's merit to that. This guy's and you're looking at Ginger and Tony saying this guy hasn't won a match for a year. But if you just literally showed basic fans and put these two characters side by side, and you would say, well, like, wait a second, the little kid is the one that's going for the world title. Why is the big guy's the one that should be going for the world title? You know what I'm saying? Just like a casual observer, like looking at that visual to show how absurd the whole narrative was that Tony was trying to feed into to begin with. You know, so the fact that all their smaller guys on that show have the best records is absurd. Orange Cassidy never gets beat. Hook never gets beat. Darby hardly ever gets beat, and when he does, he loses
to a top guy, a big, yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird universe they have set up there, and it's for the smart mark community because you can't sell that universe to normal fans, and them to suspend disbelief and watch that show, which is what's happening. They're underwhelming in rating. Like I said the other day, they showed a spot from that 6-man tag from Rampage where the Mexican guys were, Vikingo and all those guys were wrestling Action Andretti, and they were doing some silly choreographs. It looked like the Michael Jackson Beat It video. They literally did, right? And I said, this is just, this is fetish wrestling. There's not a big audience for this. I go and, the fact that the fans are standing up in the crowd, respectfully applauding this, what they were doing. I said, that's a problem because you're literally applauding things that are detrimental to you drawing an audience. And the biggest problem your company has right now is drawing more fans because you're having problems filling your seats now at the shows. The WWE is not having trouble filling seats at shows because they're not having trouble drawing fans. AEW needs to draw fans, and you're not going to do it feeding into this indie style silly stuff and everything that's detached from what WWE is doing. So I mean that's my opinion, but I think there's a pretty clear correlation between the type of work they do on that show with the embracing all the indie stuff, and them, their fans talk about how great it is and stuff, and things, and other people going this looks silly. So if you're going to just ignore the people that are saying this looks silly, when there's a significant amount of people saying this looks silly, and it's going to keep feeding into that, the people that think it looks silly aren't going to watch your show. And that's what's happening. People aren't watching their show. It's like you're ignoring the facts of the numbers, and I don't know. They can do what they want, but whatever.
What stood out to me, Di, and it's just the last quick comment on this one, is that when he mentioned Hook, he goes, Hook, 28-1, and I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, but Hook's been around for 3 years.
Right.
I remember when he started and he was Taz's kid. He came and he was destroying guys, young looking guy, whatever. Why has he only wrestled 28, 29 times in 3 years if he's this hot young character? What happened?
Right.
I mean, maybe there's a reason, but why is this push he's going to dominate a guy and then you won't see him for 6 to 8 weeks? What's going on here?
And who knows? Next is Forrester Gorilla, subject to Australia. On Raw, Rock called out Roman Reigns, and on SmackDown was referenced twice. It's pretty obvious that Rock versus Roman is happening. Can't wait for it. What I want to know from you guys is the online rumor that Rock versus Roman will not happen at WrestleMania, but actually Elimination Chamber in Perth. Eric is fed into this, by the way. I think that's who he's talking about here. On the most recent episode of Strictly Business, your boy Eric Bischoff was saying it made more sense to have the match abroad because of more sense international business-wise. Call me a mark all you want, but The Rock versus Roman is a genuine dream match. I can't believe it's happening, and I think it will be the biggest match that wrestling will ever have. To me, this needs to be a WrestleMania match, but what do you guys think of the opinion that the match should happen before WrestleMania 40 instead? Joel, do me a favor. Look up what the attendance is going to be for the Elimination Chamber in Perth. What's that said? Is that a stadium show or an arena show? Look that up.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the everybody could talk about it. Okay, it's a WrestleMania, but still though, I think I mentioned this in the show yesterday. Did we talk about this? Where I was saying that
Yes.
if Rock beats if Roman beats The Rock in the Elimination Chamber, it makes him that much stronger. A win for Cody if Cody beats him at WrestleMania.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I said, I don't think you need to save this for anything. If it's ready for Elimination Chamber, they want to go to a strip, put it on. It's like the network is, it's another premium live event on your subscription package to the network. Which is all WrestleMania is, technically speaking.
Well,
what's the number, Joe?
Perth's Optus Stadium capacity 61,266. For rectangular sports, 65,000. Concerts, 70,000. So it would depend on the setup, I guess. They could get 70.
They can get 60, 70,000 people, and that visual is fine.
Depends on the entrance and the stage, I guess. Yeah.
Like The Rock versus Hogan in Toronto. Was that a WrestleMania match?
Yeah, Skydome.
Yeah, okay, all right, but it does. But it would have mattered because the fact it was WrestleMania, like what made it epic is there were so many people in the audience, which is what you want for Rock and Roman, and put in 60,000 seat stadium. I've got zero issue with that. Bro, what a great run of business they could have in this quarter, the first quarter of the year, if they do that match and a WrestleMania.
As a TKO stockholder, I'm all for all this.
Absolutely, you got to think right. You got to think Endeavor is sitting there saying like, all right, well, you know what I didn't even realize that Endeavor is a branch off of the William Morris Agency.
Does Ari Emanuel own William Morris? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it merged into this other company and it became Endeavor. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of weird. It's like literally like it's almost like if CAA, which is Creative Arts Agency, which is like the number one agency in Hollywood, if they started buying up all these like UFC and it's kind of interesting, Maybe that's why they're getting so much celebrity fingerprints on their show with Logan Paul, with Bad Bunny and stuff. You can get all these mega stars because they're all part of the agency.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Nick Khan was a big wig at CAA too. Did you know that?
Yeah.
What do you think, Conan, about The Rock in Australia against Roman? Is that?
Yeah, like I had said before, I mean, maybe he isn't available for WrestleMania, and that's why they'll do Elimination Chamber. But either one, that's monster business. So
it's just it's a good problem to have. It's not because it's not even a problem. Right. It's like we got WrestleMania and we have The Rock versus Roman in the next few months, right? Yeah. So, next is from Eddie Hogan. The subject is O'Shea versus Khan. The worst thing about Twitter and YouTube are the sheer levels of wrestling marks. I blocked so many, yet so many more keep appearing in my feeds. I don't know what to do. Recently on Twitter, an account is making a lot of coverage for the intense wrestling mark battles. I went to check it out, and the account is run by Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. Oh, that kid's Ice Cube's son,
Yeah, and he was in the Straight Outta Compton movie. Remember, he plays dad.
His kid was.
Yeah.
I assumed it was a fake account, but then O'Shea went and busted open radio. This guy makes Godzilla movies, Star Wars shows, etc., and is spending more time online battling marks about how much he thinks AEW thinks. According to Disco, considering that O'Shea has publicly mentioned he wants to work in the wrestling business, do you think that Tony Khan should bring him into AEW as some type of rebel faction leader? And what do you think that this guy, despite living the dream life, is sweating him battling at Kenny Omega Tough 2011 online? I guess he's talking about a random account. Well, this guy's Ice Cube's kid. I think how well does he speak? Is he a well-spoken kid?
Yes.
He'll probably end up doing like one of the WWE pre-shows pretty soon, I bet. One of their like pay-per-view. Because didn't the WWE use what's her name? The chick from the Fightful, the little teeny bopper. Denise. Didn't they they used her at a pre-show one time? WWE did.
Yeah, something. Maybe a YouTuber or yeah, you're right.
That's funny.
And the thing about O'Shea, Ice Cube's son, of course, is that I see some of his stuff, and man, I'd love to get him on here just for a variety of discussions. But it seems from the tone of some of the things he says that he's like buddies with Punk. So I think that could be another in, for a pre-show WWE or something, right?
Yeah, something. Yeah, the guy's gaining popularity or whatever. You heard of this guy?
That, yeah, of course, yeah. And
you know O'Shea Jackson.
Well, not personally, but I know
Do
of
you
him
follow him on
because
Do you follow him on Twitter?
no.
What's his name
I
on
don't
Twitter,
follow
Joe?
too many
I'm
people.
gonna follow him. I'm gonna follow him.
Yeah, and I'm not the kind of like I won't publicly tweet you and ask you to go on the show because I did it years ago and Conan told me it looks stupid and weak and like I'm begging, so I don't do that. But I can't get a hold of him another way.
Well, that's
and it was like, yeah, exactly. If you and Conan follow him, the light bulb might go off, and he might listen to that, you know, and maybe he'd do the show. That'd be pretty sweet.
Well, let me see. I'll follow him right now. O'Shea Jackson. This is what he says.
It's O'Shea Jackson Jr. Yeah,
O'Shea Jackson Jr. Okay.
Mhm.
So here's his bio, Conan. Okay. It says the Straw Hat Z fighter of the Hidden Leaf Village, 10-time Pokemon champion of the Kanto region. I talk wrestlers, I talk Lakers, wrestling, Big Three, and everything. And you know what his location is? Your mama's house. Let me read it. I'm going to read a couple of his tweets, Conan. O'Shea Jackson.
He does tweet a lot about wrestling, yeah.
Somebody tweeted, per Fightful Select, several talent AEW have been told that Queen Aminata is signed to AEW. Much deserved, especially after the showing she had against Mariah May. And then O'Shea Jackson quote tweeted that said, just don't hide her on Ring of Honor, too. So
you can see if you scroll 2 down where you see the Punk gif. Look at that one. That's what I'm saying. I think him and Punk are buddies.
Yeah, it was bad when I can't read the whole thing because the guy blocks me. Whoever's did the original tweet. Bro, I get blocked by so many people. It's unbelievable.
That's he's got a Meltzer as his icon. So Dave something. Yeah, his name's Dave something.
All right.
Yeah,
next
well,
one
let me tell you something about this email real quick because he's like, well, why is O'Shea taking the time to be, arguing about wrestling? We just had Mansour and Massey on, and one of them was one of the top 25 high school players in the country, and his dad was a football player too, and he didn't about football because he grew up around it. He liked wrestling, and a lot of people like wrestling. A lot of football players, artists, UFC people, and he's saying if maybe O'Shea should go to AEW. Well, this is what I would say to that. We've seen Shaquille O'Neal there. We've seen Mike Tyson there. We've seen Jermaine Dupri there. We've seen Rick Ross there, and none have gotten over in a storyline. I just don't think he would. I don't think. And what you should do, Joe, do you know that guy from Busted Radio, Dave LaGreca?
I don't know him, but
or Bully or Tommy or any of those guys?
Tommy better than the others.
Ask them and see if they can help us.
Okay.